In 2008, the Fallout series re-emerged from its grave stronger than ever. The hard financial times the series used to face were a thing of the past, and things were looking up for this bleak, dystopian future. Bethesda Softworks had created a sequel on par with the originals, giving them a franchise as beloved as their Elder Scrolls series. The storied history of Fallout was finally in good hands and was a far cry from the days of Interplay. Fallout 3 was given as much love and attention as the originals, and after 5 massive expansion packs, the game was to many one of the greatest games ever created. So what destination would they head towards next? And who would lead them there? Only the revived development team of the originals could answer that. To get to the story of the next Fallout iteration, we must first dredge up the past. Back in 2003, a dying Interplay decides to disband Black Isle Studios, the originators of the Fallout series. While many a disgruntled employee stayed with the company or left it behind entirely, a few founding members decided they had enough. The founder of Black Isle, Fergus Urquhart, along with Chris Avallone, Chris Parker, Darren Monahan, and Chris Jones, decided they would found their own studio, Obsidian Entertainment. And they created it out of their own pocket too. Parker, Urquhart, and Monahan invested over $100,000 into their newly founded company. But of course, they needed work to keep the lights on, so they started to work with other publishers, such as Ubisoft and their old rivals, EA. The team even came together to create Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, the follow-up to the critically acclaimed BioWare title to massive success. They truly didn't need Interplay anymore. After years of more critically and commercially successful games such as Neverwinter Nights 2 and Alpha Protocol, Obsidian was on a roll, and some people were taking notice. Those people were the proud new owners of their original creation, Bethesda. Initially, it wasn't even about Fallout. They wanted Obsidian to create a new Star Trek game, but as time went on, the idea lost traction between the two. But after the release of their critically and commercially acclaimed Fallout 3, Bethesda started to change their tune. As they were shifting their focus back to the Elder Scrolls series for the inevitable sequel, they needed someone to keep interest in the franchise going. So, who else better to continue their new legacy than the ones who began it all? The team jumped at the idea of coming back to what made them great, so soon enough, they were off to create a wasteland of their own making. But this wouldn't be without a few exceptions. They wouldn't be given the lax 4-year development cycle Bethesda enjoyed. No, they would only have a year and a half to create it. While Obsidian's previous Fallout 2 had been fraught with many difficulties, bugs, and glitches, the extra year given to them seemed like just enough. But their wasteland was nothing like Bethesda's attempt. In fact, it was more akin to the original 2. It even took place out west. Close, but not too far from where their stories used to be. More importantly, while some new elements were added in, they felt it was high time to use what they had learned from their time with the prototype Van Buren. Some elements were taken in, such as the NCR, Caesar's Legion, and the Hoover Dam, but the crazed mad scientist and some other ideas were scrapped in favor of a new tale that would stand on its own. Their new world would be the Mojave Wasteland, a place that was, in some respects, as decrepit as the Capital Wasteland, and others more advanced. The advanced came with the Strip, a newly reborn Las Vegas with the ever-elusive Mr. House in charge of it all. In the middle was you, the Courier, a man that was in the wrong place at the wrong time. After being shot in the head and left for dead with your mysterious package stolen, it was your job to find the men who killed you and deliver the package you were originally meant to. As usual, you become embroiled in the latest political conflict with the NCR, a nation getting too big for its britches, and the Caesar's Legion, a nation of slavers at the helm. All of this centered around a reformed karma system. Not only did you have to worry about whether a choice was good or evil, but you also had your reputation to contend with. Idolized by the kings in Freeside, they'll throw you some food every now and again. Vilified by the powder gangers, they'll shoot you on sight. Your actions had more consequences than ever before, with hundreds of possible outcomes to happen. Side quests were just as wacky as they were way back in Fallout 2. Running a prostitution ring, assassinating the president, and investigating a secret society run by cannibals are just some of the many side quests the player could go on. There wasn't just one way to complete the quest, there were an innumerable number of ways. The reputation gained and lost throughout each of these, and many more, helped to create one of the most open-ended Fallout games around. Companions were significantly overhauled from the days of Fallout 3. The companion wheel allowed you to easily control your party members' behavior just like you could back in Fallout 2. And each was a living, breathing character with allegiances of their own. The cyber dog Rex needs help finding a new brain. Cass wants to destroy the people who wronged her caravan, Veronica wishes to help the Brotherhood leave their underground shelter, etc., etc. Obsidian had made one of the most diverse sets of followers imaginable, and were just as interesting as the main adventure. Combat was significantly upgraded from Bethesda's innovations in Fallout 3. Guns were actually given true iron sights to aim with, a first for the series, and something that more closely aligned with the series' new first-person roots. On top of this, the weapons could be further modified with scopes, silencers, and a plethora of other options, an innovation from the series' modding community at the time. But above all of these, Obsidian's greatest innovation was hardcore mode, an option that the game explicitly warns you about before even starting the game. Hardcore mode is an optional setting that makes the game more realistic. Unlike the difficulty settings, this added on new gameplay elements such as dehydration and non-instantaneous healing for the player to worry about. To some, it was how Fallout was meant to be played. A truly terrifying wasteland where you could die at any second. The special system also made a return in the same form it was previously in. How you distributed the stats between each of the respective categories created your own personal character. Every single one of them had true purpose, making the choice of which perks to get all the more difficult. Though, this gave you deeper customization for your character. Unlike Fallout 3, you would earn a new one every 2 levels instead of 1, a tactic used by Obsidian to curb the tide of overpowered couriers. But as usual, there was trouble on the home front. The enhanced production time spent on the project took its toll on the company and its creative efforts. More story elements were meant to be added in that would have made this new Fallout even more robust, but as time went on, things had to be cut. One of the most important elements of the game, New Vegas itself, had to be cut down into 3 distinct areas to save on processing power for the consoles, while their original efforts had been on the open-ended PC. This time, they were tied down to the more lucrative console releases. The original New Vegas that they had envisioned in their opening cutscene was sadly chopped to pieces before their very eyes. But they didn't have time to worry about that. They had to release it as quickly as they could to satiate Bethesda's need for a sequel. Fallout 3 was quickly, perhaps too quickly, followed up by Obsidian's effort Fallout New Vegas in late 2010. It seemed like everything was looking up for the team, selling a tad bit under Bethesda's effort at 4 million units. The game was a success financially, but then the complaints started to come in, and they were a blast from the past that Obsidian had hoped to avoid. Bugs and glitches galore were present upon release. Some people weren't even able to play the new game they paid $60 for, and others had constant crashes throughout. For the first time, the extreme bugginess actually hampered the series' critical reception. Coming off from the critically acclaimed Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas received less praise. While it was a more improved game in every right, some critics just couldn't see past the bugs, and this was a blow to Obsidian financially as well. If Fallout New Vegas received an 85+ average rating on Metacritic, the team would earn the royalties they so rightfully earned from the sales. In the end, however, the game only scored an 84. As time went on, the team viewed New Vegas as a learning experience, and after some patches and help from the modding community, the game was eventually in a stable state, for the most part. Fallout New Vegas was the perfect infusion of the old and the new. The unique systems that Bethesda had created for Fallout 3, combined with the wit and humor from the previous games brought about by Obsidian, had created one of the greatest games of all time. You just had to see through all the bugs. But with Obsidian's effort deemed a failure, it was time to call in the cavalry for one more go. But the wasteland they'd make would be radically different from anything else the series has ever created. A decision that could spell disaster. Hello, and thank you for watching this video. What do you think about Fallout New Vegas as compared to Fallout 3? Honestly, I think if Bethesda had allowed Obsidian to have more time to work on this, they could have patched out all the bugs before release, and in general, New Vegas would have been received as the much better game. But, you know, bugs and all. So tell me what you think down below, and stay awesome, and continue that thirst for knowledge.